During this video presentation, we will take a look at the first settlers to Exton in West Whiteland Township, how the area was affected by the Revolutionary War, and a few sites along Route 30. Native American artifacts have been found in pockets around West Whiteland Township. The Lenni Lenape, whose name is translated as original people, are known as a peace-loving tribe and are called the Ancient Ones by other tribes. There was a Lenni Lenape village that is really located right at the intersection of Lincoln Highway and Pottstown Pike in Exton. In 1711, Richard Thomas I settled near the village for the protection that it provided him. It is believed that that property, the first settlement, was where Main Street, Exton, now resides. In 1681, Richard A.P. Thomas, from the village of Whitford Garn in northern Wales, purchased 5,000 acres from William Penn. In September 1683, Richard Thomas and his 10-year-old son, Richard Thomas I, sailed across the Atlantic Ocean on the Morning Star. Shortly after their arrival, Richard Thomas died. After 23 years of living in America, Richard Thomas I, who was a carpenter in Marion, finally obtained his father's claim of 5,000 acres. Richard Thomas I settled in Whiteland, and the Thomas family continued to reside and prosper in Whiteland for many generations. Like many of our local towns' names, Marion, Radnor, St. David's, Haverford, Bryn Mawr, and Narberth, Whiteland is the name of a town in Wales. The Revolutionary War affected the residents of Whiteland Township. Many of the men served in the Pennsylvania militia under Captain Evan Anderson. Most of the residents were Quakers, Mennonites, or Methodists. If a Quaker man chose to fight, he was often expelled from his meeting house, and during the war, Methodists were often loyalists. Many Whiteland homes were pillaged during the Battle of the Clouds in 1777. A storm was coming on September 16, 1777, but for some Pennsylvania militia, the torrential downpour would not arrive soon enough. The wind was picking up, and storm clouds began rolling in as the Pennsylvania militia, commanded by Brigadier General James Potter, marched north on Ship Road, toward the intersection of King Road. Their purpose was to hinder the advancing British Army so that the main army, commanded by General George Washington, could travel further north in order to protect the forges that manufactured their ammunition. At around 3 p.m., the Pennsylvania militia found cover in the woods between King Road and Boot Road, where they engaged in a battle. The Pennsylvania militia suffered between 8 and 11 casualties, and approximately 4 militia officers and 30 soldiers were taken prisoner. Plundering near the area of Ship Road and King Road was extensive. The British destroyed 19,000 rails in West Whiteland Township, burning them as firewood or destroying them to make it easier for an army to travel. Knowing how important the fences were to the farming communities, George Washington forbade his troops from destroying any fences. Colonel Richard Thomas III served directly under George Washington in the Quartermaster's Corps, 5th Battalion in 1777. His responsibilities included providing food and supplies for the American troops. After the Revolutionary War, Thomas served in Congress as Chester County's first representative to the nation's capital. If the date stone of 1707 is accurate, it would make the woodcutter's cottage the oldest structure in West Whiteland Township and one of the oldest in Chester County. It's located in the Main Street Exton shopping area. This picture shows the inside of the woodcutter's cottage. The structure was built using fieldstone and consists of 1 story and a sleeping loft. This small building served as more than just a woodcutter's cottage over its 300 years of existence. It was a smokehouse and a playhouse, and Buzz Newland would catch the train from the cottage to go to school in Haverford. Today, the woodcutter's cottage is positioned along the Chester County's Rails to Trails pathway. Richard N. Newland, a Philadelphia banker, purchased the estate on March 31st, 1914 for $24,000 and began major renovations on the Greek Revival Manor House. Renowned architects Charles Jackson, McIlvaine, and Spencer Roberts developed the designs for this renovation. According to a 1914 newspaper article, the residence was built more than 100 years ago and has many unique features. One of these is a bathroom built when the house was built, with an arrangement in the wall for heating water for the bathtub similar to a Dutch oven. Several features lattice around the existing porch, dormer windows, a minor extension off the kitchen, and the latest sanitary conveniences were added, but the core of the house was undisturbed. A stone tenant house and a frame and stone garage were also added during the renovation. Richard and Alice had resided in Haverford, and they purchased the Indian Run farm as a summer residence. This photograph of Colebrook Manor was taken in 1878 and shows Richard on the porch with his grandson Charles Pickerton, John Pickerton, and a nurse. Richard and Susan Downing had 6 children. Tragedy struck the family in 1851 when 3 of their sons, Joseph, 14, Henry, 8, and Richard, 4, died of typhoid fever within 3 weeks of one another. According to Lewis Downing, the boys contracted the disease from playing in an area where a pond was being dug. At the time, the family was living at its own old homestead at 601 Lincoln Highway. An excerpt from a letter dated March 10, 1856 states, "And now I am sorry to say I have a less pleasant thing to discourse upon you. I do not like to scold you, yet I find it absolutely necessary to take you to task. Since my return home, I find, through your mother, that you went to Colonel Thomas's and Mr. Jacob's on 2 of the coldest nights of the winter, dressed in open-worked cotton stockings and slippers, after having worn woolen stockings and lined cloth boots all winter. Now, Sally, I think it really wicked in anyone possessing ordinary understanding to tamper in such a manner with their health, besides running counter to the known wishes of both parents. But in you how much greater the sin, because you profess to be a follower of Christ, who command you to honor thy father and mother. What will it profit you or I, after years of task at school and absent from home and us, and you should be carried off by consumption, as you most assuredly will if you continue?" In this 1941 photograph, John Thomas lifts flour bags into a wagon. Richard Thomas II built this unique wooden grist mill in 1744. The mill is located in the Nissan dealership parking lot. During the Revolutionary War, George Thomas managed the mill for his brother, Colonel Richard Thomas III. George, being a staunch Quaker, did not join in the fighting, but he did what he could to help end British rule at home. Family lore says that George had glass ground into the flour that was sold to, taken by, or given to the British Army. Using water from a nearby pond to power the mill's huge water wheel, the structure processed corn, wheat, oats, and plaster of Paris, and also served as a sawmill. The Thomas grist mill was owned and operated by the family from 1744 to 1935, and in the 1950s it was used to press apples. The Guernsey cow was an American dream for Larry and Gladys Plight, and a tourist destination in the 1940s. The Guernsey cow was famous for its caramels, ice cream, and milk. "Meet you at the cow" was a common local phrase during the 40-plus years that the establishment served ice cream, with flavors like moon dust, Swiss chocolate mint, and brandy peach. The Zook family, which was among one of the area's early settlers, purchased this house in 1770. The house was moved in 1998 to make room for Boscov's. The house currently sits in front of the mall along Route 30. Thank you to the West Whiteland Township Historical Commission and the Chester County Preservation Network for all that they do in protecting our historic resources. For more information on West Whiteland Township and Exton history, check Amazon for the Images of America West Whiteland Township book.